Hey guys, welcome in. Hope everybody's having a fantastic night. Hope you enjoyed the CDL matches. I will tell you that when it comes to my breakdowns, they did not go exactly how I expected them to go. But either way, it was a great night. And in today's video breakdown inside the film room, we're going to go ahead, we're going to break down that matchup between OpTic and New York. I know it was a hot 3-0, but I do want to go through, break down everything that OpTic was doing. I know we already see in the chat that this has got to be a segment all about Dashie, and he'll probably have a pretty big part of it, but I heard you guys on some of my recent videos that you're looking for VOD reviews, so I figure what better to do than to go ahead. It's still fresh in our minds. We had an unbelievable day. I don't think, like I said earlier, anybody really expected this to be the case. As we go ahead, and this might be a little tough to see, let me make it bigger. These are some crazy outcomes just to kind of go through what we saw so far. But this first matchup of the day, Los Angeles Thieves and LA Gorillas, which was a hot 3-0. I think this basically took everybody by surprise, and we didn't see the same LA Thieves team that we've seen in the past. Now, you do have to give LAG credit. My guess would be that the vast majority of people, I couldn't even tell you, 90, 95%. I wish we had some sort of stats on this Pick'em website. I didn't go through and do my Pick'ems. I just kind of made my video about it. But for this, you would have to think that 90, 95% of people would have picked LA Thieves to win this matchup, and they just came out flat. They didn't look terribly strong in any of the game modes, and sometimes that's what happens, right? All of these teams are super high tier, and LAG might have limped into that winner's bracket in their group, but they got there for a reason, and that's what happened. So that match was certainly an upset. The most dominant match, which I think is probably the only one that people were certain of, were the matchup here between OpTic Chicago and the New York Subliners, and it was a beatdown. I mean, what can you say? You could tell in the post game exactly what Clay was thinking. He was completely dejected, and how could he not be, right? I mean, they've been playing so well with their win over Minnesota and being able to get into that winner's bracket, and they just didn't play with, I don't know if it was the intensity, or I don't know if that was, I mean, let's think about it for a second. That is a super big spot to be winners round one with Diamond Khan and Asim, who, I mean, Asim has been there, but not really. Mac was a rookie last year, so that is a huge moment. And when you have two of the most storied players of all time and one of the best players in the game, I mean, that's a super tough spot to be in. So just overall, just a really nice job out of OpTic there. If we look at the elimination round 2 over here, again, I didn't do my pick'ems here, but I got both of these wrong as well. I expected Paris to come out, and Paris had looked phenomenal. They've been looking great, and Florida did kind of limp in. It was only a little bit over a week ago or so that Paris 3-0'd Florida. So if there's anything to go off of there, now I know it's a week later and Florida has had some time to fix some stuff and it's super early on in the season, but Florida looked great. We've seen Skies and Awakening play really well, and we haven't quite seen the performance from the SMGs out of Florida, but we did in this one. So good for Florida. I'll be the first to tell you that before this season started, I was trying to figure out, I had my top 3 seeds in power rankings, wasn't quite sure who that 4th was going to be, and I had Florida there as my 4th initially to start the season. Then they came out. They didn't really play great after they got that victory over Atlanta on kickoff weekend. I dropped them down to 7, came off. They went 1-4 at the end of Super Week, dropped them down even further, and now they seem to be picking up the pace a little bit. And what might be I can't see the biggest surprise, because I think that LA Thieves versus LAG match was probably a massive surprise, but that Minnesota versus Toronto matchup, I thought for sure, with Minnesota being the top, or I think they're definitely, I think they're top 2, so being top 2 in search and destroy in the league, I just didn't expect them to come out, especially I thought if this goes 4 maps, I could see Toronto winning. I could see Toronto winning both the hard points and the control, even though Minnesota has been playing really well in control. But I would have never guessed that they would have lost a map 5 search and destroy with how well they've been playing. Again, it wasn't that long ago that they won a map 5 SND over Dallas. I mean, we're talking Toronto here, and Toronto's a fantastic squad, but just recently, recent memory, they won a map 5 to win a match over Dallas. So I figured if it goes map 5, they're going to end up taking that one, and they didn't. So it is what it is. That's what happens when, and they did get a bad break, right? If you think about where they started in the losers bracket after in group play having a 3-2 record. Just so happened that there were other squads that played just as well, with LA Thieves going 4-1, Dallas going 4-1, New York going 3-2, and having the tiebreaker win between those two. So it's tough scenes out here for Minnesota, but that's what happens. It's tournament time, and it's time to get going. So with that, the reason why you guys are all here, we're going to break down some VODs. So you guys have been asking for it in my recent videos. I hope that you enjoy those recent videos. I've been putting a ton more time in. I wanted to try to make it look a little bit more professional, have some different segments so that we could talk about power rankings. We can talk about, you know, who are the top 5 in the league, who are just a whole slew of things in those segments. So hopefully you've enjoyed those. But I have heard you guys and how you want to break down some VODs. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So let's go ahead. Let's hop on over. We have this live scene. We also have map breakdown here. So if we need to, we'll bring up the mini map. We'll show you exactly what's happening here. If you guys have anything in the chat, make sure you go ahead, put anything in the chat. I'll answer any of your questions, get all of you guys set up, ready to go. But without further ado, let's go ahead. Let's get into this one. So just kind of initially here, and I'll just kind of say when I'm breaking these things down, this is what I see right off the get-go, is that in this map, I expect, these are the arrows here for OpTic, I expect them to contest inside of P1, and eventually when it goes over to P2, I expect them to be able to hold these back P2 spawns and then just watch the push from bottom plane from over here by A, S, and D and the flank over here on the bottom side of the map. I just expect, like right now, even though nothing has happened at all, I just expect them to be exiting P2 with a lead. That's just kind of where my mindset is. So if I was a coach or if I was a player, that would be my thoughts going into this one. And we'll watch it here as it gets going. So off the rip here, you can see that they dedicated Dashie just to watching the flank, right? They went ahead, they put trust in all of their SMGs, and they threw their SMGs into the middle of the map. Formal gets a 2-piece, and this is where it gets a little bit tough. In fact, this spawns a little bit odd. Now, Clayster and Asim, they were the first 2 to die, but Clayster did get pushed up a little bit. So as we're looking at this, this is what kind of blocked this right side spawn, but they're fortunate that they still have Formal and Dashie. Formal got the 2-piece. They're still over here on the right-hand side of the map. So they don't spawn out, but very similar to like Gunrunner P2 last year and some other Gunrunner P5, where if this is contested, one team's going to spawn on top, one team's going to spawn on bottom. So even though they didn't get this particular spawn over here on top of their teammates, they're still going to be able to wrap back down towards the bottom of the map and just make sure that they're controlling these spawns. So it's a little bit odd, but it's nothing that's really going to hurt them. But I will say, it's a nice job out of New York of getting some of this initial time inside of P1. I thought, just as I was watching this live, that they really did a pretty nice job of mixing things up inside this P1. Scump plays this P1 hill really well for some reason. Every time I watch them in scrims, he's always in there getting 2 pieces and doing a nice job of mixing it up. You always have Envoy hitting a flank of some sort, and that was also a big win, but it does eventually get traded and they hold these back spawns. But New York is absolutely playing this right. Again, as we look at the mini map down here, New York was getting those left side spawns over here. So rather than just continue to push the plane or try to hit this front side hill, if they're unsuccessful at doing that, they're going to spawn back here exactly where they started. So they take all of their players. You saw Clayster over here get that first kill, and they're trying to just push out the back side of P2. We're going to see how that works out. It does end up getting shut down, I'm pretty sure, but it's the right way to play the map. Sure, you're going to give up the next 25 seconds or so inside of, you're going to give up 25 points inside of P1, but it's not all that big of a deal because you're counting on, okay, we have spawns for P2. We're going to lock down this right-hand side of the map, and doesn't really end up working that way, despite the fact Asim got that big 2-piece and Diamond also got a 2-piece. But even right now, so, and this is another thing that kind of drives me crazy. I don't know if you guys saw it at the top of the screen, but when you're inside the hardpoint and it's contested, there's actually no way to tell. Look up here right in the top center. There's no way to tell how much time is left on the hard point. So just as a viewer, as somebody that breaks this down, it really does kind of mess with me a little bit because I want to be able to see. Now, in the middle of your screen, if the player you're watching seems to be looking at the hard point, you can tell. But at times, I'm just always constantly wondering, like, when is the hard point moving? When should players be rotate? And at this point, you can't really tell. But as we're watching this, half of this hill is already gone, and OpTic just did a really nice job of contesting. They weren't able to hold those spawns, and they weren't initially able to flip, so they just decided, okay, we're going to contest from the front. We're going to try to get kills. Formal gets a kill there. He does end up getting traded from Mac, but still, Dashie's here, and they're actually adding time from the front of that P2 hill. It's something that you don't really see much ever. Normally on this map, P2 and P5 are those money hills, and if you're able to hold that right side of the map, then you're able to build a little bit of a lead there. And now, as it works back towards P3, this is just another one of those hard points that I don't really enjoy. I don't know. If it was my design, let me just kind of show you this real quick. If I was designing this map, and I'm not a map designer, but if I'm trying to play some sort of competitive mode on this, I would put P1 right in the middle. And then I don't care where you go from here, but if P2 is here, maybe you put 3 over here, 4 down here, and 5 over here, just so that way you're ping-ponging back and forth from one side of the map to the other. As it stands right now, 1 is a contested hard point, 3 is a contested hard point, and 4 is usually a contested hard point. So the only hills that you really have the opportunity to start stacking up points is usually from 2 and 5, and even at times those can be tough if you're not pushed out like what we just saw on that P2 hard point. So it is what it is, just a little bit of a pet peeve. Now, I will say, and I thought Chance did a really nice job of pointing this out, that there are teams, like if you're watching the kill feed right here, there are teams that just rock M4s when it comes to this bottom middle hill, because if you have control of P3, basically from whichever way you're watching, it's a pretty long line of sight. Let's bring up this mini-map again because New York does this really well. If you have control of P3, which is bottom plane, let's think about the approach angles from any spawn. It doesn't really matter. But right now, OpTic spawning over here. So if you're trying to approach from that way, you have all of this open area right here, which that's perfect for an M4. If you're pushing from the bottom, like we see Scump down here, if you're trying to approach from the bottom side of the map, you have all of this lane over here. So there's just really long lines of sight here. So I love the fact that sometimes they switch it up. They'll pull out all 4 M4s. And the same thing applies to the other spawn. If you're looking over towards P5, same sort of deal. And it just continues from there over here towards left side of P4. Same thing. You have this long line of sight here. So I like the fact that they implement that strategy. It's just sometimes you're playing Dashie and Dashie goes off. In fact, as we look up in the top right, he's already at this point, he's 11-5, Formal's 8-8. Those two played really well. Envoy also played really well. As we go throughout and watch this, you're going to see just Envoy drive people crazy. That's what he does, right? He's just always in these weird positions that you don't really expect him to be in, and that's just what they do. But right here, you can see 4 go down. Let's go back just a few seconds here. Literally, right now, everything is set up perfectly, right? If you're looking at those yellow arrows, and if you're New York, you're set up, you're watching the right direction. You have a Seam and Clayster that are kind of watching the same thing here, but it's not terrible. You have Mac on the top side of the map, and literally these 3 are just watching the exit from P3. And you would expect as Chicago starts to exit P3, they either have to hit front side of the map through either one of these directions, or as they're coming up off spawn, they could hit here also. Now, you might, again, if we look at the score, right now it's 54-39. So if you're thinking about it in this regards, you might say, well, you know what, let's go ahead and let's just sacrifice 15 or 20 points here, and let's take a Dashie or a Formal or an Envoy and just have them hit through wood so that they can try to get this backwood spawn for P5. But they don't even elect to do this. And look at what happens here in the kill feed when we hit play. Almost immediately right there, Formal gets a kill, Dashie gets a kill. There's one person left. Formal gets a second. Every single person is wiped out. And now all of a sudden, I mean, it's a perfect setup. What can you say, right? It is set up perfectly by New York, and they just get gunned. Dashie and Formal, they just clear them out here. They take over. Envoy gets the last one, and instantly, this is also a big part here, and this is what Envoy does. This is what he does so well. If you look, those players just went down like a couple seconds ago, and you can already see that Envoy's already pushed up in a choke point over here where you probably don't really expect him to be, right? If there's somebody top playing, like right here, like Scump, maybe you would expect that. Or if there's somebody in wood or somebody over here towards the bottom of P4, that's fine. But the fact that Envoy can get pushed up this far, it just takes people by surprise. It's just, he's in your face. You don't really expect him to be there. And because he was able to get this kill and push up so fast, this took 2 New York players and it spawned them out over on the right-hand side of the map. So now they have control of P4. Envoy pushed up to cancel those spawns, at least for half of New York. And now they also have those spawns as it rotates over to P5. So we'll get back into this and we'll press play. And again, if you guys have any questions, put them in the chat. We'll make sure that we get them answered. We'll make sure that we're going back and forth. But it's just a slaughter fest. Formal gets a kill on Mac there. Now all of a sudden the left-hand side of the map is completely open, and instantly the map knowledge takes over. You can see all of those white arrows look back to the right-hand side, and now they just have control of the hill. They have map control. Scump's getting a 2-piece as they try to get through mid. Clayster gets a nice 2-piece right there, but it's just not enough because that area of the map is still contested. So since he gets that 2-piece, it's still contested. Those white arrows still spawn there, and they maintain that spawn on the left-hand side of the map. So 19 seconds left, and it wasn't that long ago. Like, think about it. When we exited P2 and P3, it started to get stretched out a little bit, but from P3 to P4 on the top-hand side of the map, it was only like a 20-point game, and it seems like, okay, P4, New York is set up. They have spawns. They have map control. They have everything you need. Should be a pretty decent game here. Should be pretty highly contested. And then you look, and it's a 60-point game. Like, what happened, right? It's wild how quickly that can turn. And that happened during P3 and P4 when P3 and P4 aren't even the 2 money hills on this map. We haven't even gotten to map or to P5 yet. Let me go ahead. Let me get caught up in the chat real quick. Emrio says, how far do you think OpTic will go in this tournament? I think they can win it all. Absolutely. Why couldn't they? I have them actually. Let me see here. If we look at, these are just, I didn't fill out the pick'ems again, but I actually have them as we're looking at this. I have them matching up here with Dallas. And then I think that they're probably going to lose tomorrow, but I think that's going to prime them through a run through the lower bracket. Now, after they played how they played today, if Dashie plays like how he played today, watch out, because that could be something totally different. But if we're talking about how far they can go, I mean, they can beat anybody. If they shore up their S&D and look as good as they did today, there's no reason why they can't beat Dallas. There's no reason why they can't beat Atlanta. They can beat anybody. Nobody FR says big thing attached to Awakening. Top 5 in the league in this order. Dashie. Seems like we got some Bruce fans in the chat. Absolutely. I mean, the dude's been popping off. Hawkster says, first time here. This is awesome. Welcome in, man. Thanks for joining up. Hopefully you enjoy some VOD review tonight. After everything you saw, who is the best team? I mean, it's tough to say. Dallas, I think you can put a group of them in there. I think you can put OpTic in there. I think you can put Atlanta in there. I think you can put Dallas in there. I think those are probably the top 3, but LA Thieves, even though they lost today to LAG, they are super good also. So, I mean, there's a ton of different people that you can put there, but the top 3 are probably what most people are going to say. Do you think Dashie is in MVP form? Probably. I mean, Dashie's been playing unbelievably, so let's not understate how well Dashie's been playing. I mean, he was lights out today. His performance today in this matchup was the best performance that I've seen throughout this entire year. So got to give him that. Dallas is taking the dub. Osman, that was my pick too. We'll see what happens. It wouldn't shock me either way, especially with how OpTic played today. But let's go ahead. Let's get back in this map again. If you guys have questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. We'll make sure we'll get them answered. But Scump getting a 2-piece to finish out that time inside of P4. You can see that Envoy's inside the hill. Dashie's watching over him. Formal and Scump are just being a nuisance. I actually really like what's happening here with Formal and Scump. It's really easy to kind of overlook stuff like this, but it's such a simple setup. You have Envoy hiding behind this pillar. You have Dashie watching over top of him from the push from the bottom side of the map. You have Formal watching the push through plane, because if you think about it, there's not too many different ways that they can approach this P5 hardpoint. And Scump was inside of P4, and now he's just browsing mid-map, just being a nuisance, just being annoying. So overall, this is just, it's a phenomenal setup here from OpTic, and they execute. I mean, it is what it is. As we get back into this, right now it's 120 to 39. Scump's on a 6 spree, and this is where it gets dangerous, right? When you get down by 100, and you have to start pushing hills blindly. You have to start pushing hills as fast as you possibly can. Now you've got Scump kind of sitting mid-map there. You've got Formal just slaying people out from over top. Nobody's really challenging Dashie inside of Wood. Right now, Dashie's 15-7 at this point. Formal's 17-10. I mean, sometimes you just slay out so bad that there's not much the other squad can do, and that's exactly what you're seeing right here. Now, it does get a little bit better, and I think that helps New York a little bit. Like, right now, it's a 120-point game. It's a 130-point difference. Now, when it goes into second, you can start to see that things are switching a little bit. We are in the middle of an Astro listen-in right here, and actually, one thing I noticed during this listen-in is I noticed how much Clay was really trying to get his team back into it, right? He wasn't being a terrible teammate. He wasn't, like, yelling at people. He was saying, like, come on, let's go right now. This is where we turn it around. That's one thing that I noticed, because at some point in time, you're getting smoked like this. It would be really easy to just sit back and what are we doing and start yelling and playing the blame game and stuff like that. And he just didn't do it. So I give him credit there. They didn't have the day that they wanted, but he didn't get overly upset by it. And this P1 has been fantastic. You can see that Scump has snuck through, but since that's a contested area of the map, and by the way, at this point, New York knows that's happening. Let me go back just a few seconds here so you guys can see this, because it's hard to tell. So right here, we're looking, and I'm paying attention to number 8. So right there, Scump ends up dying. And because they end up dying, and there's nobody pushed back watching the flank. I wish I could make this bigger, but we're in this listen in, so I can't really expand exactly where we're at. But because I'll do my best. But everybody right here is inside the hill for New York. Since everybody's inside the hill, you need at least one person back fin or over here in tube watching the push. Since nobody's there, Scump gets this back spawn. There's nobody holding it. So he gets that back spawn, and that could have been a monumental mistake. But New York is going to know. So right here, Asim comes up off spawn, and Asim gets this bottom spawn. That's a normal spawn. That's not confusing to anybody. They would expect somebody to spawn there. But as we press play and we get a couple more that go down for New York, this is where you start to notice. So if you're Asim who has this area of the map right here, and when his teammates come up, so number 3 right here, this is Diamond Con. When Diamond gets this spawn right here, that's when you know this area of the map is being contested. So if you're New York, now you know somebody's back there. You don't know where they're at, but you know somebody is back there somewhere. So that's when you start to, retreats, play a little bit more patiently, because you have to win that ones. If you lose this one right here between these two, then you give up those back spawns and the route is just going to continue. So that's just something that, like, as I've watched and as I've seen, like, you start to get an idea where people at. Again, as we watch that number 1, you can see that he's not just settled inside the hard point, right? Asim was looking towards the back. He gets in. He looks back towards orange. He's constantly checking around. Because his teammate spawned out, he knows that somebody's potentially back there. Let me get caught up on the chat real quick. OpTic is pure gunny, as always. I'm not doing announcer. Where are we? Clay's intangible skills are off the charts most of the time. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the biggest thing that Clay brings to the table, is that his intangibles, the hype man, his intelligence, stuff like that. What are your picks for tomorrow's games? Love the streams. Ooh, Oddities is going with Toronto Ultra. Interesting. We'll call some out here towards once we get through a couple maps here. We'll talk about tomorrow's matches, but I want to make sure that we're getting through this as well. So, going over towards P2, Scump just got a kill there on Asim. Obviously, they're going to know that he's back there, so they converge on him. They take control of back orange. New York did a really nice job this second set of rotations of winning rotations. Once they had rotations, being able to trade out kills and gain map control. So they really did turn it around. In fact, there was one point in time towards the end of the second set of rotations that if they make 1 or 2 more team kills, this map could have got interesting, despite the fact they had a 130-point lead. But right here, even if you're New York here, this isn't terrible, right? You ended up getting flipped out, so OpTic did get the last 15 seconds or so, but you're so far pushed up that if you have your ARs, like we talked about the first set of rotations, you can get kills as OpTic tries to exit this P2, just like what Clayster did right there. This is not the worst thing that could happen. We saw OpTic be able to go on a run, first set of rotations here inside of P3. Now we're seeing New York do it a little bit, and it's the same thing. We talked about how long these lines of sight are right here. So as OpTic comes up off of spawn, you have Clayster with an AR or Mac. We just see Mac switch to an AR. You have them set up here. These are really easy kills to get in these long lines of sight, because if you're OpTic, you have to push forward. You have to push that hard point. So just a really nice setup here for them.
Nice win though by Diamondcon as New York still alive, still inside the pool.
Once again, Envoy, good reason from behind, just picking up those players who are tagged up and weak. It's the ARs there of OpTic putting in the hard work. Dashie, one of them, making his way forward. Clay on a 3 spree right now. Doesn't want to let this one go anytime soon.
And so like at this point in time, if you're New York, obviously this isn't ideal in the scenario that they're in. But if this was a closer game, you would be 1,000% fine with this, right? You would be inside the hard point. You would have rotation. You would have control of P4. This is literally the same thing that they did the first set of rotations. It's just the first set of rotations, as it rotated over towards P4, top side of the map, they got gunned out of P4, and now it's going a little bit better for them. We saw Diamond get a kill as they tried to exit their spawn. Matt gets a 2-piece. Clayster gets a kill. So literally, they're in the same positions. OpTic's coming from the same side of the map. Everything is the exact same. The only thing that's different is that they're finishing their kills. And right now, this is a little bit scary. So I thought OpTic might have made a tiny bit of a mistake here. And we'll let this play out a little bit. If this was against a Dallas or an Atlanta or something, I'm watching the score, and this is getting closer and closer, right? Since Envoy just died middle of the map right there, we can see that everybody from OpTic is now spawning out all the way over here towards P2. This is not where you want to be spawning with, in 8 seconds, the hills going all the way over here. Now, when I said I think that there was a little bit of a mistake, as I was watching this, I thought there was an opportunity here for, who is this? This is Envoy and Scump. So I rewinded it like 20 seconds. If I'm Envoy and Scump, knowing that I've got a 60-point lead or so, this might be a point in time where I say, you know what? Let's just forget about these gun battles right here. Let's push out over towards backwood. If we can get over here, then get a kill or two in this area as New York's trying to funnel and kill Formal and Dashie as they leave P4. And if we can potentially secure these spawns, we're probably going to win inside of P5. That's just my thought as I was watching it. Maybe it's a little bit safe, but again, this is where I thought this could potentially get out of hand, because as we go through and just watch these 20 seconds over again, Scump ends up getting beat down right in top plane. Envoy loses his one to Mac. And now Dashie gets a 2-piece inside the hardpoint, which gives them another 5 points or so. But now as it's rotating over towards P5, they're not set up. They have nobody close. Mac just killed Envoy as Envoy tried to get in again. But the great equalizer is that they've got Dashie on their team. So Dashie was able to pick up a couple kills here on rotation. He kills Diamond. Now they have those back spawns. So this was not conventional, okay? 90% of the time, it's not going to work out that way. But since you have Dashie, he just sits up top mid. He challenges everything. He's 35-17 at this point, and it just works out. Just like the first set of rotations when we said New York was set up, they're where you need to be, everything's going great for them. And then as it rotates to P4, they get gunned and they lose control of the hill, and it just all goes down the hill from there. Same thing happened here. New York had rotations. They were back P5. They were poised to get all of that time and get back into this ball game. And then Dashie and Formal go off and they lose rotations, and they're now 3 points away from losing. Nice 3-piece there out of Clay. It is nice to see stuff like that from Clay towards the end, because you kind of figure they only need 2 points, so this map is pretty much as good as over. But I like seeing that they still have a little bit of fight. Clayster's getting a 3-piece. Again, if Dashie doesn't get those kills as it rotates from P4 to P5, there's a really good chance that this map ends up being a little bit different, and OpTic doesn't end up securing that win. So overall, I just thought they did a really nice job of especially the first set of rotations, of winning rotations, being able to get those kills when they didn't have rotations. I mean, they just came out of the gates super tough, and it was a beatdown. Let me get caught up on the chat just a little bit here. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out. If you're new around here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We still got the search and destroy map to go through. We've also got the control map to go through. So if you're curious or have any questions, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Ask them in the chat. We'll be answering them here for the next, I don't know, probably hour or so. See if we can get caught up here a little bit. Group B teams have won every match so far. Oh, that's interesting. I actually Didn't even realize that. I don't know why I didn't realize it. I just didn't put 2 and 2 together. But that's interesting that if we look at the pick'ems here, so OpTic beat New York, LAG beat LA Thieves, Florida beat Paris, Minnesota lost to Toronto. Interesting to see the big-time matchups there when you just kind of figured that the Dallas, if you think back to like the second week of the season, you're thinking like, wow, Dallas looks really tough, LA Thieves looks really tough, Minnesota looks really tough. And then they come into these winners bracket matches, and it's not quite the same result that we would have gotten a little bit ago. Not really quite sure what happened here. We lost our spots. Let's see. Where are we on the OpTic match? This is what just ended. We'll get there.
Hey, what a redemption arc, baby. Let's get it. Moscow, search.
Let's see, just tuning in after the tournament. Little Panda, what's up? Thanks for hanging out. We're just going through. We just talked through the Hardpoint. We're going to work our way through the SND, and you can see here that New York is on defense first. This is one of my favorite SND maps to watch just because I've loved seeing how this develops over time. Just to kind of break everything down, I saw this. I had never seen this until I believe it was Minnesota did it last time they played, but they send everybody to the middle of the map on defense, and eventually they're going to show that. Scump is sitting right here, so Scump is going to get eyes on the fact that everybody's in the middle of the map, and then they're just going to revert back, and they're going to go into like their basic setup. It's a really weird approach here at the beginning, but it's kind of cool to watch. So right here, everybody challenges mid, and then almost immediately, everybody from New York exits. You have Clayster and Mac going back up towards A, just like they normally would. You have a Seam watching the cross over by Globe to B, and Diamond Con's kind of set up towards the bottom side of the map. So it was interesting to see that when I was watching the setup, wow, everybody hit mid, and they hit mid super fast. Then they just dissipated and went back to where they would normally be. They were in a 4v3. Envoy gets a kill there on Mac, which gets traded out by Clay, which gets traded out by Scump. So now we're in a 2v2. And at this point, it's tough, right? So there was a point where there was a 3v2. Formal gets that kill on a Seam, and now Diamond Con's left by himself on a flank. It's a 2v1. This is just a tough situation all around.
This would be one hell of a delivery. Yeah, you got to be thinking about the nerves right now. Is he feeling it?
And yeah, Diamond Con gets, I don't want to say he gets confused, but he didn't quite give it long enough there to check A. And at this point, they know where he's at. So, I mean, this is nice job getting the kill there on Formal. But if he just gives it one more second when he's at top Esky and looks over towards A, there's a potential that he could get a pick there. He just didn't wait long enough. It is what it is. I mean, you're playing OpTic Gaming. You're down 0-1. It's the first major you've ever played in, so not exactly an easy spot to be in. Matrix says, do you think OpTic could win this major? Yeah, absolutely. 1,000 billion%. Just see how they play in search when it comes to playing Dallas tomorrow or potentially Atlanta if they win that matchup. Interesting setup here. And again, I like this setup much more from OpTic than what I saw in that phase matchup. So in that phase matchup, just to break it down real quick, what I saw out of OpTic is a lot of times they had 3 people over here towards A. They had Formal, who's actually Formal's up here right now, but they had Formal sitting at cutout watching the push through Globe, and they had nobody else towards B. So I think that's what New York might be doing right here, is New York is setting up for a push through Globe, trying to get over towards B, because that was to counter a setup that I saw a lot out of OpTic in that match against Atlanta. Now, they're not set up the same, so it doesn't necessarily play out the same way. But I like this setup a little bit more. You have 2 towards the top side of the map. You have 2 over towards B. And as you're watching this progression here from New York, you can see that they just don't really have a great idea where they want to go. Bomb was right in the middle of the map. So Bomb was here. Then they started pushing up towards A. Then they saw Envoy. Now they're coming back over here down towards P4 to go back towards B. Just seems like they might be a little bit out of sorts, but it is what it is. I mean, sometimes that happens when you're at the beginning of a round. You're not quite sure how teams are going to play you and stuff like this. And I think this is where Dashie gets a nasty 2-piece here to shut down this push on the bottom side of the map. Yep, he gets this kill on a seam. Diamond Con's behind him, throws the nade, peeks the other side. Mac does trade him out, but at this point in time, they probably know that Bomb's down because a seam got killed on the bottom side of the map. So everybody's going to start rotating over. I'm actually kind of surprised that Envoy didn't see this push here from Clayster. And watch these shots, by the way. I don't know if you guys saw this live, but I was so confused when Clayster tried to get this kill on Formal. I don't know if he looked away. You know how like when you're watching the NFL and receivers go to make a catch and then they look away and they drop it and you're like, what the heck? Like, how did they drop that? That's kind of what I felt here out of Clayster on these shots. Look at how shaky they are. I mean, it took like 25 bullets for him to finish that kill on Formal. Again, I don't know if he saw Formal and then started looking over towards this top side of the map, like started looking over here to see if somebody was going to exit this window so he could chain it into a 2-piece. But I thought that was a little bit odd. You don't see shots like that out of Clayster.
It's a 2v2, 15 seconds on the clock.
You gotta look for these kills.
Yeah, and this is a fantastic bait and switch here. Scump dives in, gets the kill on Clayster. You know that Mac is going to immediately try to trade that out. As soon as he does, literally all Scump does is just run towards the middle of the map, trying to hit a flank over towards Globe. Dashie pops out of this jump out window, trades it out. I mean, this is classic bait and switch right here. Really nice job of trading that out by those two. OpTic goes up 2-0. Dallas is cold at the moment. Illy has been hot dog water. Illy hasn't been what you expect Illy to be. I 1000% agree, but it's go time now, right? We're in a major. Let's see what happens tomorrow. And oh, by the way, you've got to have a flex matchup against Dashie, who just had a 2.2 KD or something like that today. I mean, that was pretty unbelievable. He was just falling, which didn't help his aim, but that got scary for him for a second. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I get it. So just to kind of respond to you guys in the chat that are saying he fell, which messed with his aim a little bit. That's an M4 jump shot. I get it. For me or you, like, I'm a pretty good player. For me, if I fall off and jump and my shot's all over the place, I mean, fine. This is Clayster. I mean, this is one of the most talented people in the world. So for me, sure, I'll have a little bit of a shaky shot. But for you, or for Clayster, probably shouldn't. Let's get back into it here.
I mean, even if Dashie doesn't have a name,
pretty standard if you're watching this. If you're watching this setup, if you're watching this offensive strategy, pretty standard stuff right here. I mean, a little bit of a patient play over towards the A bomb site top side of the map out of OpTic. What am I doing? Hit a button on the side of my mouse. My bad. But as you're watching this, I mean, pretty slow play. So look here. We have these arrows for OpTic. They're not really quite pushing up. They're not trying to get control of top Eskies right here. They're just trying to get a pick. And maybe after playing so fast the first couple rounds, making decisive plays, it's not the worst strategy I've ever seen. But right there, Mac gets a peek of Envoy. And here comes the push. And this could have been bad. Envoy pushes through. If Clayster doesn't get that, then, so just to break this down real quick, sorry, I had the wrong screen on too. But Envoy pushed up right here. If Clayster doesn't get this kill, they know Mac is over here on the top side of the map. So Envoy and his teammates could just pinch that. Now, all of a sudden, even if one goes down, you're in a 3v2 scenario. You have control of bomb site. You're going to have bomb down. So I love that play out of Clay and the fact that he said, okay, I'm going to run away. I'm not going to challenge this anymore. So really clutch play out of him there. Mac gets the tags on Scum. The nade finishes him. It's just a good round. I mean, it's just fantastic. It's the perfect way to play over there towards that bricks head glitch on the top side of the map. He just got a tag into Scump. He knows that if he throws that nade, he's going to get the kill. Dashie pushes forward. He figures Formal watching his push over here. Did you see those shots from Formal real quick? Look at this. It was right before this. So right there, see those shots right there from Formal? That's what makes Dashie believe that he can push up to grab bomb and gain a little bit of map control. He figures that Formal's watching that heady on the top side of the map. So as he's doing that, he pushes forward. Formal just shot those shots from over that jumping head glitch. He gets the kill on Dashie, flicks over, also gets the kill on Formal. Just a really nice job of being unpredictable, right? Not knowing when you're going to jump up, when you're not, when you're going to push, when you're going to try to stick out and get those kills. Just a really nice job overall there. Mac hardcore snaking. Yeah, I mean, at this point, everybody's kind of snaking, so, I mean, what do you do about it, right? And this is a little bit more like it. So, now we've got a fast push. New York saying, let's go after it. Let's try to pick up the intensity a little bit. Unfortunately, and when this happened live, I thought, oh boy, is Envoy not quite going to get this jump up? Let's go back. Let's watch this. Watch this out of Envoy. He initially tries to make this jump up and he doesn't get it. I thought right there, I thought that was going to be it. I figured he didn't have enough time to get back up top there. But he does. Gets the kill on Diamondcon, hops out, gets the two-piece on Clay. He does get traded, and now we're in a 2v2. Really nice job out of him. Dashie gets the kill on Mac.
He's got Scump to back him up. It's now a 1v2 for Asim, who's yet to find a kill.
And now it's a 1v2.
What a round to do it in here, if he can find it. We are waiting for that Asim. We've all seen a few times now in the league.
And in a 1v2 scenario, I like the fact that as we're watching this here, Dashie was able to, so the two-piece went down up here by Envoy, which he got traded. Dashie was mid-map. He was able to kill Mac on bomb. And then rather than try to challenge that or stay put where Asim knows where he's at, he backs off. He gets together with Scump, and now they're both just kind of pushing together, just making sure that they'll trade this last and final kill. I mean, it's exactly the way you have to play it. Sure, at some point in time, like if you're playing league play, maybe you want to try to make a hero play or try to do something crazy off the charts. But in this, you're playing in a major. If it's 3-1, that's a lot better, obviously, for your squad than being 2-2. So I like the fact that they just backed off, played together, trying to finish the round out by themselves.
And he gets his eyes taken clean out there by Scump and Dashie. It's 3-1.
Asim starts shooting on, I think he shot towards Dashie first, and then Scump was able to finish the kill. If Dallas starts off slow, OpTic will run off with the dub without Dallas even noticing. Yeah, it could happen 1,000%. Thought that too. I thought he burged it. Burgered it. I love it. Judge a team based off how they play, and so looking Surge, Raging, and Rocker, putting them 11 instead of 9 isn't unreasonable. I like Ultra, but I don't trust them. Yeah, I can see that 1,000%. Again, a little bit more of an aggressive push here out of Envoy. It looks very similar to the setup that we saw before. Again, as we look down here. But the only difference is that they're pushed up just a little bit further, right? They're pushed up towards top Eskies, and now they have control of this area, which I said before they didn't have control of this top Eskies area, their side of the map, but now they do. So now it gives them a couple more options with how can we approach this line of sight right here from Clay. We can sneak through top Eskies and try to get this head glitch here and look over towards A-bomb. So just gives them a little bit more in terms of what they can do next and unpredictability for sure.
Things have slowed down just a little bit. Nice little different setup. Nice look that New York is showing. Instead of playing bricks, waiting for the Eskies push out.
Very, very light exchange from both players there. Played by Bricks, Formal, down by the fountain. You've got a scene watching the main street, the boulevard there. What's the back end of B? That'll be all different once we play on the new patch, but just chilling. Getting slow rounds from both teams. Encroaching in towards A now. We're at the top of, or the bottom now of escalators. Both teams, they're going to commit.
So at this here, it's just kind of mind games in a way, right? It's a really slow round, not starting off too crazy at all. But as we saw that shots were taken right here. So as those shots went down, a bomb initially rotated over here. So Envoy backed off. Formal was still here. I would have liked to have seen Formal maybe throw a stun or get shots over towards the bomb over here just to get it into New York's mind that maybe OpTic's still going to push A. We saw the bomb come mid. We saw Envoy push up towards top Eskies. Think about going A. And then he thought better of it. They turned around, and now they're hitting out mid-map here towards P1, towards cutout. So I think they got intel from Dashie. Dashie was hanging out down here. Didn't see anybody pushed up in this line of sight. He went over towards mid-map. And now they're kind of noticing that they have this area's open and this jump-up window's open. So rather than try to stuff this bomb up towards A, let's try to take what they give us here over towards B.
It looks like OpTic may be going for a full execute on B here, and that could be it. They've got 3 men. They're going to be in the window now. They're up and about. They're inside. No one saw it. They've got full sight control.
And this is just tough. I mean, you give up this much map control. You give up this much inside of the bomb room. I mean, it's just B is a tough retake as it is, let alone when you've got all 4 alive still. So Asim gets tagged up a little bit there from Formal. Really cheeky shots there underneath the bus to give them a 1-man advantage. Envoy's just being a snake in the grass. He's able to get that kill. Meanwhile, Dashie got a kill on Diamond as he jumped through that side window. And now it's a 1v3. He gets traded out. I mean, just a really nice job overall of realizing, okay, there's 2 people up towards A. Rather than try to stuff it through the top side of the map, let's hit mid. Dashie didn't see anybody. Let's hit the jump up. Let's get the bomb down. And now it's mano-y-mano, basically. Let's take our chances and see if they can gun us out of a really tough site to get out of. Just didn't make it happen.
Found the perfect time to cross through middle of the map, and whichever player it was from New York tried to pick it up.
During Champs last year, there was a best-of-9 with a map automatically awarded to the winner's bracket team. Yeah, actually, you know what? I wonder if they're going to do that again this year. I wonder if they'll do another. I know it's going to be a best-of-9, but I wonder if they're going to give the winner's bracket team a map advantage. I'll be interested to see if that's the case or not. They hadn't done that in the past, but we'll see if they do it now. Emrio says, thought about coaching in the league. I mean, that would be fun, but I'm just out here just enjoying myself, breaking down Call of Duty. I mean, it's like my biggest hobby, so something ever comes along, great. If not, I'll just keep breaking stuff down and having a blast doing it. This was a really nice aggressive push here from New York. I like what they did here. As we go back, the one thing you'll notice is that now Envoy the entire time had been going up to the top part of the map with Formal. We saw him get a 2-piece over towards that top bricks heady right here where Clayster is actually. This is the one time where they just made a call and they read it wrong. So now now Envoy's pushed up over here, which had New York reversed course and brought the bomb this way or this way, he would be in a perfect scenario to get a kill from behind. He probably gets traded out, but then Dashie or Scump's able to trade that. So it's not a terrible call. It just didn't work out for him. Sometimes that happens, right? You call playing basketball or football or any other sport, and sometimes it's just the wrong play. So they get countered, and that happens sometimes.
Watch those players come through mid, though. Clay's going to be there watching them by Eskies. That's, again, a difficult spot to be in. Has to watch the flank as well, and you know who's on the flank every single time. It's Envoy versus Clay in the back streets now, going down as well. Dashie through the front. Envoy's actually going to B-tour now. He's going to make his way up through Eskies, so Clay's position's now been nullified. If he makes the read, good. If he doesn't, his boys are going to get overwhelmed on points. Scum finds the first. DiamondCon, he's left the kids all alone. Who's going to pick him up from school, damn it?
Miles is great.
Envoy finds another one. DiamondCon last player.
Unfortunately, OpTic just has the gunny right here, so Normally, this is a really tough retake. You can see that they reverse course. Everybody went up top Eskies right here. And as they did, Scump was able to get the kill on Mac, who was head glitching the bomb. Clayster was watching the flank. It almost worked out. Look at Call of Duty timing right here. So, look, literally as we're watching this right here, Clayster goes back to watch the flank. Envoy's right there. If he gets that kill, they probably end up winning the round. But Envoy, rather than hitting the flank, decides to go mid with his teammates. He would have been dead to rights. Sometimes it just happens. Sometimes it just works out for you, right? So all three of them go up top Eskies. As we watch this, we're going to see Scump get the gunny right there on Mac. In fact, Dashie almost killed Scump from behind. They start pushing out the two players on the right. I believe it's Dashie that looks back towards this way. Gets the gunny on Clayster because Dashie's just nasty. Envoy ends up killing a seam. Diamond trades it out. Dashie trades that out. They get the defuse. It's perfectly played. And if Scump goes down there, they probably lose this round. If Envoy flanks and goes down, they probably lose this round. There's so many things that could have gone against them, and it just worked out for them. So sometimes that happens, right? The Bomb Squad says, will you do this for all majors? Yeah, absolutely, for sure. I can't wait for tomorrow's matchup. Tomorrow we're going to break down, who knows? I mean, Atlanta could have a really good match against LAG. Obviously, we have OpTic versus Dallas. That's one that we could break down. So we'll definitely be breaking down something tomorrow. So make sure you're subscribed if you're not subscribed already. Turn on those bells so you get notified when we go live. And let's get after it, baby. Again, as we're watching this here, you have kind of that unorthodox defensive push here out of New York. Think they're just trying something different. They start here. They send three through the middle of the map. They send a seam over here towards B. He's watching top globe. And again, if bomb's going mid or if bomb's going bottom, it's probably a perfect setup. But they guess wrong again, and that's not where it's going. So bomb's over towards the top. Sometimes it just works out that way for you.
Freaks would be cool. He definitely saw Mac there. About you go.
Now they've made their adjustment. They realize nothing's really coming towards the bottom of the map. And now it's pretty straightforward from here. Pretty positive that Mac and Dashie just saw each other there. Great kill out of Clayster. I was shocked that Envoy didn't get that kill. If Envoy's able to get that kill on Clay as he tries to escape, Envoy probably turns around and expects pressure from mid-map, but sometimes it doesn't work out that way. Did you know Dashie dropped a 2+ KD? Yeah, absolutely. It was like a 2.2 something or 2.3. Oh, I actually forgot about this. What is, hold on. I got to back this up. Asim, my guy, you have been playing like an absolute animal, but what are you doing here, my guy? Let me go back a little bit. Just bit him in the dust. Scump got through. They know that bomb's probably down over towards the top side of the map. Envoy was up there. He got traded. Envoy carries bomb. Look at this timing. Oh, sometimes I just feel so bad. Asim's watching the bottom side of the map. Literally, look where Asim's watching. He's posted up down here. He's watching the push for their flank. So if there's anybody from OpTic that runs mid-map, he's going to tell his teammates. Anybody that runs through here, he's going to get the kill. He's prepared for it. It's great. Wait till you see what happens. I'm going to stay on this zoomed-in screen right here. It's the worst Call of Duty timing ever. You think, hey, Scump's running right in front of him. Asim turns away. I couldn't believe it. I was secretly flipping out at this point in time. It was the worst timing I've ever seen. Scump gets through. Obviously, New York's not going to expect them to be behind him because Asim's telling him, hey, man, I got your flank. There's nobody here towards B. There's nobody in the middle of the map. I've got it covered for you guys.
Stump got through, and now him
Oh, this is bad news. I feel so bad. Scump gets the 1 kill on Clay. He's able to play his life here and get away. Now they know they have a 2v1. Scump saw the other dude at the top side of the map. So Scump saw, let me go back. So right here at this point in time, Scump sees Clay, and right there he sees Diamond. Gets the kill on Clay and gets out of dodge. Plays his life. Rather than take a 50-50 gun battle, he says, I'm going to back up and I'm going to reset here. Really smart play there. And as that's happening, obviously they know Diamond's at the top side of the map. So Dashie, having the gunny that he has, he slide cancels, and now all of a sudden you've got a 2v1. This was a perfectly set up round here from New York, and they just let it fall through their grasp.
Well, Asim's the last player. He's got to make a run for it. It's a 1v2 for Asim once again. He gets another shot of this to keep his team in the search and destroy. And here he goes. Oh my God, the timing.
And that's just great timing. So Scump's not necessarily great timing, but it's a great setup also. Scump's watching toward mid. The only way that he could die was from his back left. Dashie was watching his back left. He wasn't peeking, but he was in a position where he could trade it. Since he was there, he trades it out.
So good.
Chicago gets a 6-1 search victory, and now all of a sudden you're probably thinking, okay, maybe they're starting to turn it around a little bit when it comes to search. Last map we have left in this one is the Control. And I'll tell you what, I'm excited to break this down because I love raid Control. I hate Control on Garrison. I hate Control on Checkmate. But on raid, I love it because if you're the offensive squad and you can just get like one team wipe, you can win a round. Sure, you have to clutch up as the defense comes back. You have to get another one, but there aren't very many other maps in Control in this game where if you get one team wipe, you can push forward and you can take control of a bomb site. Let me get caught up in the chat real quick. Why did Asim look away? Yeah, I don't know either. I honestly think he was looking in the same direction for like 30 seconds, and it just so happened. It's just Call of Duty timing, man. That's literally, Caliber says, bro, are you kidding me? He looked away actually at the same time. I know. It's Call of Duty timing. That is a phrase for a reason. That's exactly what happened. Question that doesn't relate. Where did you get the Call of Duty LED gun? Hey, that thing's dope, isn't it? Look at this. So I actually got it as a gift from my sister-in-law for Christmas. She got it off Etsy. I have no idea where she got it from, but there was one random question. She asked me, like, what's my favorite Call of Duty gun of all time? I'm like, well, this is really odd. But I said the Remington from Call of Duty Ghost. That's what that gun is right there. It's my favorite gun of all time. That's when I competed. That's when I went to LANs and stuff like that. And she made it into an LED gun. So, yeah, it's pretty dope, right? It matches my kind of LEDs I got down towards the bottom. If LAT and NYSL lose tomorrow, Dallas will be the Group A remaining with 5 Group B teams. Yeah, it's crazy how it works out like that sometimes. Which team would you like to coach? I don't care. Whatever. I like doing this too. I just like breaking stuff down. I like making content. All of it's fun. I don't know. Whatever. We'll see what comes ahead of me. But let's go ahead and let's get into this Control. I love raid Control. I'm super pumped to break it down here. And again, you're going to see different types of breakoffs here, okay? So if you're on offense, you have to make a decision. Right now, OpTic's on offense. So they're spawning here in Garage. They have to decide, do we want to try to get A first? If you get A first, it's good to get that extra minute, but A is the easier site to get, okay? So, sure, let's go try to get A, and if we get A, we get that extra minute, but now, obviously, New York's going to know that we're going towards B. It's going to be harder to get B. Or you could take the break off towards the top side of the map, as they're doing here, and B is the harder one to get. if you're able to break off first and go over towards the top side of the map and get B, and you instantly get B, that's basically a round win on offense. So kind of got to decide which way you want to go here. But that's the decision that OpTic made. They decided we're going to go towards the top side of the map, and there's a ton of pressure on Mac here. So he's able to get the first. He gets traded out by Dashie. Formal also got the pick on Clay, who was also mid-stairs. And now all of a sudden that push towards the top side of the map is open.
Get the clearance towards B. Well, maybe they're worried a little bit about the spawn kills, but that's exactly what Scum's job is going to be. He needs to look for a seam. His teammates, they got to deal with the action.
I mean, this is just a perfect break-off. You go over towards the top side of the map, you get 2 down, and now all of a sudden you're about to get a tick into B. Nice job from Clayster coming back, getting a 2-piece. That's a massive kill out of Formal right there. That kill out of Formal essentially gives them that first tick. And since Scump decided off of spawn to come and get the... So, let's break this. Listen, there's a lot to go through here, okay? So, we'll just do our best. But Scump, as he comes up off of spawn, he can either go over towards B and try to get on B point and try to help Formal cap. But if he does that, he's at a disadvantage at a gunfight from all of these places right here. So, rather than do that, he elects to trust his teammates and say there's probably one back there, but a different way that I can help my team. Since Formal's in control of B right here, that's going to spawn New York on the bottom side of the map. So they have to push back through one of these 3 lanes to get back over towards B. So Scump trusts his teammates. So rather than go hop on the flag, he goes over inside of P2, inside of Kitchen here. He gets this kill on Mac. And now essentially he cuts off those reserves as they try to go back over towards B, which essentially just guarantees them this B spot. And once you have B, you can see that Diamond's saying, all right, whatever, we're just going to give it to you. Meanwhile, Envoy's being super aggressive, pushed up inside their spawn. B is done. There are 2 minutes and 8 seconds left on the clock. They've already got control of B. And the bigger thing, which doesn't end up coming into play here, but there are 25 to 19 lives. So they've already, it just started. The map just started a minute ago. They've already got a 6 life advantage, which the reason why you want to have that is because if you have the life advantage as it goes to round 5, you get defense, which is obviously more preferred on most control maps than offense, right? So not only do they have B, not only are they working towards A, but they also already have the life advantage.
Finally going to stop him, slow him down for now. Envoy's going to fill in that position immediately. Chicago, man. Dangerous stuff. B's gone.
This is a really nice job, I will say real quick, out of a seam. I love it when, rather than just sit around raid, like sit in here in these spots like you probably see if you play league play, I love the fact that Asim pushed forward and he's just trying to get like free kills back here. Unfortunately, he ran into Dashie, and that's probably not going to work out real well for you, so he ends up getting gunned. But I like the aggression there, just trying to even out that kill battle and try to get back into it here. But Envoy sees Diamond inside the point. Everybody else around him is dying. Dashie gets a kill on Mac. And this is decent. I mean, this is a decent job of New York getting back into the point, being able to trade out kills.
Now finds himself by himself on the point.
What can Mac do alone? He gets Envoy. Man, that was a big...
And this is good. If you're New York, this has been a really solid 30 or 40 seconds. You're working back to the flag. OpTic's working back to the flag. You're literally just trying to continue to trade. And now all of a sudden, every single person is inside the point except for Scump, and Dashie just stuck Diamond Con. It's bad luck. I mean, we talked about timing and a ton of other things, but that's just bad luck right there.
That's not a problem. Well, that's a problem. Envoy's up next.
Formal's backing him up. Nice shot, Formal.
Formal gets one.
Coverage. Nice bit of work then once again on the defense from NYSL. Drain the tick. Still down to the first. Minute 25 on the clock.
And this is where I got to say real quick, this is where the composure for OpTic takes over a little bit. OpTic easily could have continued to throw lives over towards A, and they would have just been running into Clayster and running into Mac and running into DiamondCon with ARs who are set up on head glitches. But rather than do that, they say, hey, we've got a minute and 22 seconds left, and we have 15 lives, and they have 5 lives. So rather than continue to do that, they back off. You see Scump just got a kill on Clayster mid-map. So they decide, let's play this life advantage, and then eventually it'll end up turning somewhat into a search and destroy round with us having more respawns left. So I like this play out of them to not overreact and go super hard towards A. We have a life advantage. Let's just continue to play our lives. Kyle Morris says, who do you think is the best control team? I think OpTic's there. I think 100 Thieves is there. I think Minnesota is really good at control. I mean, anytime you say who is the best blank team, you can put OpTic in there. You can put Atlanta in there. You can put Dallas in there. I mean, you can put those top 3 teams in anything. But I think Minnesota plays control really well. They won control today also. They just didn't come through in their final search. OpTic is most definitely the best control team. Yeah, I mean, they're really good. Dashie Nate on point. Yeah, I mean, Dashie's been playing unbelievable. Let's press play here, and you're just going to see how they slow things down, and they just try to get kills. Nobody is sprinting towards the hard point. Nobody is overreacting. Now they know where Asim is, so they're going to try to hunt him out. You just heard Chance say it right there. They've got all the time in the world to get this done. Absolutely do. Envoy just doing Envoy things. Envoy is so annoying when he does stuff like that, where he just like, Clay comes up off a spawn. He's able to get a kill on somebody in his base. Okay, I'm going to run over towards the A point. And then Envoy's somehow behind you. The kid always does stuff like this. Asim gets traded out right there. And now they've only got 1 life left. They've got a 10 life lead. So now they can go ahead. Now they can start to converge on the point. But it wasn't too long ago where there was like 2 minutes left and they didn't have any progress at A. Then there was 1 minute left and there wasn't any progress at A. There's a point in time where a team with less composure could just try to push really strongly over towards A, and now they go 4 down. And then they try to recover, and they go 4 down again. And now all of a sudden, your life advantage is gone. So I can't overstate, like, Scump getting a kill on Clay mid-map, Formal hitting Envoy hitting a flank to get a kill. That's really good stuff out of those guys, and it's something that's really easy to overlook. Do you think any roster changes are incoming?
Seems like for the moment, at least today, they can do no wrong.
Probably. I don't know for sure, but my guess would be that London probably won't stand still. I could see Seattle doing something. I think Seattle with their flex and their AR can compete with anybody. I'm not sure that they can compete with the better top-tier, faster SMGs in the league. We'll see what happens, but that's a really tough one for me there. And how about this? This is tremendous. I had to laugh at this. I tweeted something about it. I sent this clip to all of my buddies as we were watching the CDL. Dashie says, hey, we smoked him in the hard point. We won the search and destroy 6-1. That was a really easy first control round. So you know what? I'm going to come down to courts, and I'm going to play some basketball. This is just incredible. Good for him. Actually, I'm surprised that missed so bad. Let's watch it one more time. Guys, does that not look pretty lined up? I'm kind of shocked that missed so bad. Dashie, you got to work on it, man. I know you're frying. Can you imagine if that went in? Could you imagine if that would have went in, what would have happened? And here we got to listen in. Oh, that's true. Dalen in the chat says Hydra flying back in. Yeah, I mean, imagine that. Imagine taking. Now, I don't know who ends up staying. I think it would probably be Diamond Con because Asim came in when Hydra couldn't be there, and then Diamond Con came in when Zuma couldn't play any longer. So my guess would be with Hydra coming in that it would probably be Diamond Con that ends up going, but I don't know that for sure. Although Asim and Hydra are both super fast SMG players, so maybe it's Asim that goes. We'll see what happens, but you get a nasty top tier, and we'll see if Hydra lives up to the hype, but you get a nasty, super fast top tier SMG to team with Clay and Mac. I mean, New York already has made all of these waves, and their roster has been in shambles so far for the last 2 months. So that's something else to talk about there. That's why he plays COD and not basketball. Hey, yeah, true. And I'll just say real quick, same thing goes back the other way. We were kind of talking in the meantime, but this was just a really nice job out of New York of doing the same exact thing that OpTic did. They came up off of their spawn. They pushed the top side of the map. They instantly got B. And I actually, again, I like the fact that Formal didn't just jump out of Mundy window right there and try to cut that off. Because if he does, there's a good chance he gets gunned and he's just throwing away lives. So, really strong start there from New York that probably gave them a little bit of momentum here for the rest of this control. But now it's just over towards B. You can see that Scump and Dashie and everybody else is just slaying out. Also, Envoy, this guy is crazy. How many times today? I feel like I've stopped it probably 4 or 5 times just today and said, Envoy is so annoying. He's always in places where you just don't expect him to be. And here he is again. Like, how does he even sneak through? Like, look at this. They get a kill. Dashie gets a kill on Asim over towards A. And then Envoy, rather than like pushing mid-map, trying to get the kills in zigzag or pushing into art to trade out Scump, he just goes down ramps, pushes into weights, and now he's getting kills from behind. I mean, he obviously he has like a tremendous Abizi type vibe to him. But those are just tremendous plays. It instantly gives them a further life advantage. It takes now a little bit more time for New York to work their way back inside the hill. Formal gets a 2-piece. I mean, it's just a fantastic job. But the other thing that you can see real quick is why this map, especially over towards the bottom part of the map by A, can be so offensive friendly is because right now they're trying to get A, right? And as you see that, if nobody from OpTic is pushed up into this art area of the map, that's going to have New York spawn right here in Garage. So as they push out, look at how short of a distance this is to get from their spawns inside the A point. Meanwhile, if A is contested, that's going to take OpTic and spawn them all the way out over towards Tiki, over towards where the B bomb spot is. So now look at the amount of distance they have to cover either this way or back through Laundry to get back into the swing of things. So this is why A is so much easier to capture, and it's also why teams like to try to get B out of the way first, because if you do, now you can really spawn out that defensive squad and you can try to take over at A.
His way, New York, they certainly have their fight in them. Unfortunately for them, they got to deal with Dashie, dealt with no streaks for Bruce. A point starting to get captured. Really OpTic, they're just going on deep.
Hey, by the way, if you're not paying attention, when you watch OpTic play tomorrow, it'll be a little bit different because it's Dallas and their SMGs are a little bit different. Look at Envoy again. Literally all the time. Look at that number 7 arrow. He spawned here towards Tiki. Rather than try to get back towards A and help his teammates as quick as he can, he hits this long flank, and here he comes again. Dude is always making crazy plays like this. If I'm playing OpTic, I am always saying, where the heck is Envoy? Gets a kill on Diamond, gets a kill on Mac. There's 2 people that are off the flag all of a sudden. That was a little bit of a ballsy challenge right there, but nice job of just getting out. He does get taken down. And at this point, all they have to do is just get the cut from mid as they try to recover. At this point, OpTic pretty much says, we're not going to give away any more lives. And New York's able to take a control around there. But it started the same exact way as Chicago, right? They came up off a spawn, pushed the top part of the map. They captured B first. And then they were able to patiently play A, wait for the opportunity. They didn't get the life advantage back, but it is tied 1-1. Huke versus Envoy is going to be one to see. Oh, absolutely. Huke versus Envoy. Formal versus Krim. I think Formal's probably playing a lot better than Krim is right now. You've also got Dashie. I think that's a major mismatch right now. Illy just isn't playing like Illy right now, but I think eventually he'll probably start playing a lot better. And you have it happening again. I'm actually a little bit surprised here that we didn't see a change in strategy here from New York. They did the same thing. Look at this break off here. You have Clay, who's inside of Tiki, and everybody else pushed up towards the top side of the map. It's the same exact approach that we talked about last time, but Clay's the only one there to help. So right there, he takes a shot or 2 from Scump. They end up throwing a nade into Tiki, which gets him even more lit. He tries to back out. He tries to run away and hide. He just doesn't have enough time. And at this point in time, they're already on this site. Dashie's getting kills in mid. And again, guys, I feel like I could put this in a recording and just press a button, but rather than get on B, look at where Envoy's at. Rather than help, who is that? Rather than help Scump inside of B, Envoy pushes forward, and he's hiding in this corner so that as New York starts to push over here to help out towards B, he's going to be able to get these kills in the side. He's just a different player, man. I mean, we could talk about it over and over and all the time and mention it, but right there he gets a kill. He does get traded out by Clay, but just, I don't know. It's just different plays. It's really good plays. And now here's the other thing. So as they came up off of spawn, if you're New York, you expect them to push back towards B a little bit. So again, up here, New York is over here towards B. They're coming up off of spawn. Since they're pushed up, that gives OpTic this spawn here. So since A is easier and they know that there are people still left over towards B, they go through art, they hit A. Now they're going to capture A while there's basically nobody there to contest it. Again, really smart plays out of them.
Pick a B. A now starting to develop.
Oh, where Scump fell, Formal picked it straight up. Two spree for him towards the middle of the map. Clay wins his one-on-one, and well, OpTic, you see one ticket progression through on the B.
Envoy kills Mac. Formal kills Diamond Con. They've got 3 people on A. This is a wash. Now, this is where things get a little bit dicier, but I like what OpTic decides to do here. So, again, let's talk strategy a little bit, okay? Let's break this down. So, if you're New York, you're in a really good spot. Reason being is you have Clayster over here in top apartment. So what that does is that blocks off this spawn right here for OpTic. They can't spawn close to B. The only place that they can spawn is over here towards weights. So now they have, first of all, they can't really approach here because Clay has height advantage. That's going to be a really tough matchup to win there against Clay. And if they push mid, we can see that a seam is set up right here, And that's tradable, but still, all of these routes where they're trying to approach here are a lot more difficult because they're getting this bottom spawn because Clay's up top. So rather than just try to push that, as they come up off of here, they push back Laundry, because what happens is they know Clay's pushed up, they know Asim is pushed up. So if they have numbers right now, right? So if they're able with numbers to push out towards jungle and get these kills, now they can hop on B. They know that Clay has to recover from top apartments. And if they're on B, now they're in the same scenario that they would be before if they're able to overtake B, because now New York would be spawning over here towards Laundry. So you just have to watch the same 3 routes that we talked about earlier. So it's a really smart play, because if they're just thinking, you know what, we captured A, let's just go ahead, let's run through mid, they're going to get gunned from all of these directions right here. So they have an advantage pushing out jungle, get this kill, push on the site. Now you're spawning New York out and you have control of B. It's a really smart play. You're going to see basically this is nothing new. All the teams know this, but you're going to start seeing it played more and more like this.
They got bedroom control. This Diamond Con's about to find out. Players from OpTic trying to come around the tree.
Diamond Con right there gets traded. Envoy gets traded, and just like that, they're able to shut down that push. But had that push been successful, it would have been a much different story. Dashie's able to trade out Mac, who then gets traded out by Diamond Con. So here, now, the only other thing that's going on at this point in time is that they were able to clear out Clayster. Remember, Clayster was up here top apartments. Formal's able to win that gun battle. So now these spawns open up and they can push towards mid-map. They can get a little bit more ground. It's easier to push over towards B with that top apartment area being cleaned out.
Mac versus Scump over by the ring. Scump taking that high ground. Mac's trying to keep him at bay. One player going through now mid for NYSL. The 3 players there from Chicago lining up. OpTic trying to make the big hit on towards B. Diamond keeps that mid-map safe. Very important position to be in for right now. Now it's just going to be that long-range gunfight. No one really with the opportunity to make the play forward. It's got to be something special.
Dashie gets a kill on Asim. Scump gets a kill on Mac. Right there, Diamond has to get that kill. That's a tough one right there to lose. Let's go back just a few seconds here. If you're a pro, you've got to get this kill, because you're going to get traded out, right? They know that there are 3 people in apartment building. So he gets this kill, he gets traded out, fine. Numbers are still the same. But if you don't finish that kill, Dashie's going to get you. Scump killed Mac in the middle of the map. Now all of a sudden they have numbers as they push over towards B. That's a tough one to lose there. Oh, I just remembered. We got that play from Dashie coming up. That unbelievably play. All right, we'll talk about it in a moment. But for some reason, I forgot that play is coming up next round. It's not this round. It's next round when they're on defense. Formal with a nasty 2-piece.
Still, though, a 2v2, and New York's going to be quicker on the respawn.
And again, we talked about this same exact thing the first round, right? We talked about as OpTic comes up off of spawn, so they spawn here, rather than just push this way and be at a disadvantage from all these lines of sight, you can see Scump and Envoy, their SMGs, pushing mid-map, getting a kill right here on Mac, but they're trying to cut off the reserves as they come through, and because of that, you can see all of these Subliners players, 3 of them, are pushing over here towards courts, trying to get back to B. It's just a super heady play all around. And now if you're Formal, you know they've got to come from right in front of you. Unfortunately, he doesn't get any, but Diamond does have a team kill there.
And I will say, man, it was tight, but it wasn't tight enough. Chicago finding the kills.
That actually worked out. Well, that didn't, but that's about as good as you could have hoped that stall would have been for them, so it worked out really well.
We stopped the clock at 27 seconds. OpTic on the point, going for the cap. No lives left now.
Formal gets a 2-piece. Asim gets traded out by Dashie. There's nobody left. They've only got half a tick left. What are you going to do? That's all it takes, right? All it takes is just one team gun battle. There's 27 seconds left. At this point in time, it's 3v3, and New York has all of the map position, right? look here, they've got 2 in money cutout, or they got 2 in money window. They've got 1 in cutout. It's a 3v3. All you have to do is just win your gun battles. But as we play this right here, Clayster flies out. Formal gets a 2-piece. Asim trades out Formal, but gets traded by Dashie. Dashie and Scump are left. They're inside the control point. It's ticking off too fast. There's no way Diamond Con can get down there. Is what it is. You have advantage like that in a round against OpTic. You better make it count for something. If you don't make it count, it's going to get ugly, and they didn't finish it there.
Throughout Super Week, throughout the opening breaks, was looking like one of the best players in the game, but Formal.
Dallin says, is Control your favorite to analyze? I think it might be, at least on this map. Like, Control on Garrison, that's kind of boring. Control on Checkmate's kind of boring. But in this map, this reminds me a lot of Capture the Flag in certain ways. It's not quite the same, but there's so many little intricacies here and there that, I don't know, it's fun because there's so much happening and there's so many different ways you can go about winning a round. Whereas, like, last year when we were watching Domination, it's just, all right, let's get A and B on dominant side, and hopefully we can hold it for longer than they can hold A and B when they're on dominant side, right? Like, last year, Domination was so unbelievably boring. But this year, I love Control. Even though maps like Garrison can be a little bit annoying to play and stuff like that, I love this one.
Boy on the defense. The player with his headset backwards, he has fantastic awareness. Scump and Formal,
and New York tries to go towards A.
Boy on the defense.
They end up getting shut down right here. Asim gets killed. Matt gets killed. And now you just got to reset a little bit. But it's not the worst thing in the world, right? Again, just look over here towards B. Sure, they got killed over here towards B. So you think, great, that's a wasted push, but it's not. Because as you look at this, you have 2 OpTic members dead, and the other 2 members are up here towards B. So if you're not winning that team gunfight at B, look at how far all of these guys have to travel to get back towards A. Whereas if you're on offense and you're coming up off of spawns right here by weights, you can easily get back towards A. So even though it looks like a failed push and a momentum killer and, well, crap, now we have to start over, it's really not that big of a deal because now you have the advantage as you try to push over towards A. It's not the one you want to capture first, but it's a good consolation prize.
Here comes the cap in towards A zone as well, though that second tick's going to dissipate incredibly quickly. 3 members there on point. Maybe a slight collapse on towards A.
And just like that, no OpTic members can even get back over towards A before New York could go ahead and cap it. I almost said before Dallas because I just looked at Clayster. Sad. Now, again, if we're talking about strategy, if you're Chicago, let me go back a few seconds. Obviously, this is the strategy, but just one more thing to make sure that you're 1,000% you know what's happening. You can see that as Chicago comes up off of spawn, they're spawning over here toward courts. So that just means that they're getting pushed over here towards jungle. Had they spawned somewhere in this area, then that would have meant that after New York capped this, then they pushed over here towards mid stairs or towards kitchen. So since they're spawning up on the top side of the map, they know that they're being pushed through jungle. I know we talked about it a little bit earlier, but it's just one of those things where you spawn, you know where your enemy's going to be just because of the logic that happens in the game.
Sort of have him trapped. It seemed right now through money. Yeah, one team in garden, the other 2 pull steps. The break happening right now.
Mac find a first. I mean, Envoy's going to try to bounce back. Diamond Con now get involved. There could be a second there from Scump on the outside of the pool, but Dashie, once again, you have to check the bedroom. It's such a strong position. There's always someone there. Now you find...
Man, I'll tell you, like, Dashie's just saving them again. Let's go back just a few seconds. They're about to push. Mac gets a kill on Formal. Envoy gets a kill on Asim, so you've basically got like a 3v3 going on around the hill. Diamond Con gets a kill on Envoy, so they're starting to have numbers, right? If we look, all of a sudden you have 3 yellow arrows pushing over here. 1, 2, 3 yellow arrows about to pinch over here on B. It's a 3v2. You think, okay, we've got numbers, but you don't because you've got Dashie. Right there, Dashie gets a kill on Diamond Con. Dashie sitting top apartments, gets the kill on Diamond Con as Diamond Con's about to push out. Clayster gets a kill on Scump, which is great. But as that happens, Mac jumps down. Oh, Dashie's just so freaking good, man. So Mac was up here at cutout. Mac jumps down to try to get on the point. He gets gunned all the way from top apartments by Dashie. Dashie gets top apartment. He shuts down the entire push just because he gets a two-piece by sitting up top apartments. He's just so good. Oh, here it is. Here it is.
Big Bruce, the biggest of Bruce's finds two. A third kill from Dashie. That is obscene. 5 in a row there for Bruce.
I mean, I don't even know what to say. I mean, guys, think about the last 15 seconds. New York has numbers. They're pushing over towards B. Dashie gets a two-piece, stops the push. Dashie's still apartments. Everybody knows where he's at. He pops out, kills Clay, gets a second, picks up the SMG, gets a third. I mean, the dude's just winning rounds literally by himself. Here's the push. Dashie kills Diamond. Scump gets traded. Dashie kills Mac. Everybody knows where Dashie's at, right? It's no secret at this point. Dashie kills Clay. Switches to his Diamatti. Turns around. Gets a kill on Asim. Picks up Asim's SMG. Gets a kill on Diamond Con. I mean, it's probably my play of the year so far this year. It's just, those are just phenomenal plays. He gets another kill on Clayster. He single-handedly shuts all of that down. It allows Envoy to push forward and get in another sticky scenario like that. Now, all of a sudden, they're pigeonholed towards pushing that top side of the map, right? As they came up off of spawn, now they don't really have much of a choice. They have to push that top side of the map. They could hypothetically push the bottom side of the map and try to hit that flank, but there's only a minute left. If that takes 35 seconds and they're not successful, now all of a sudden that's probably the end. So they're kind of pigeonholed into pushing this top side of the map now.
Maybe 2 or 3 pushes. Asim, well, he's thinking about the flank. Nice reads from Scump. Think you heard him coming the entire way. Dashie wins.
Right there, Dashie gets another pick mid-map. Scump also got a kill. Scump gets traded out. But again, they're just constantly keeping New York further and further away.
In their base, and NYSL feel the pressure. They're going for that full wrap, but as they're going for it, you see the reaction from OpTic. Scump knows the deal. He's already posted up in basketball.
Dashie just got shot out there from Mac, so he's just going to tell his team that they're hitting a flank. There's at least one hitting the flank. Formal gets a kill top apartment there. There's the flank coming through. So I know that we weren't watching it, so we're watching Dashie right here. But the whole time, remember, Dashie got shot out by Mac. So if we look at this again, Dashie was mid-map. Dashie was here. He still is. But he was looking this way. He got shot at by Mac. Mac was here. He shot bullets. And when he did, Dashie was able to see him go this way. So you know that approach from your flank is coming in. It's just a matter of time. So what does he do? They hit jungle, and they know it's coming. They know that they're about to get flanked from behind. So right here, Scump's just sitting in this little corner waiting. He's got Envoy here inside of this little cutout. They're waiting to just tag team this. They know it's happening. So they trust their teammates. Formal and Dashie are watching the front. They trust Envoy and Scump to get the kills from behind. And nobody's even really paying attention to this because everybody's freaking out about how well Dashie's playing.
Now, what will break first for the Subliners will be their body.
But right there, he loses that kill to Diamond Con. But in the kill feed, Scump gets the kill on Mac. Envoy gets the kill on Asim. That push from behind has been shut down. There's only 20 seconds left. 2 New York players are dead. They have to get over towards the hill.
12 lives remaining.
they still have the resolve to make the push. 4 members of OpTic down the front of the point.
And at this point, it's just you have to run into formal. You have to run into the sights of Dashie. And oh, by the way, Envoy's also frying. And it's just Dashie gets another 2-piece. Now there's only 1 left inside the hill. They don't ever react. They try to trade it. Formal gets a kill on Clay. Formal gets another kill. Formal gets another kill. Dashie's 35 and 16. Formal's 28 and 14. I mean, what are you going to do? It's just, they're just too dominant. It is what it is. Just like that, Chicago gets the 3-1 victory, and they looked completely dominant. It is what it is. This is that Dashie play.
Take a second look at the best play as well. Dashie
Gets the 2-piece, and then, whoops, gets the kill on Clay. Diamatti kill on Asim. Hey, give me your SMG. Gets the kill on Diamond Con. It was just, it was beautiful. It was a fantastic job. They come out with a 3-0 victory. And as we look at the bracket here, it sets up for this, right? You got OpTic here. You got OpTic versus Dallas tomorrow. So we'll talk just a little bit. I actually picked Dallas to win this. I think if it comes to a map 5, okay? If it comes down to a map 5. Now, I will say, I made this prediction before I saw how OpTic played today. But if it comes down to a map 5, I have a ton of confidence in Dallas winning that final search and destroy, which is why I went with a 3-2 here. But also, now, I went with a 3-2. I think Dallas is probably going to win tomorrow. Or I thought Dallas was going to win before I saw how dominant OpTic looked today. Now I'm a little bit more unsure. I'm not entirely positive. But what I will say, if Dallas ends up winning this matchup, OpTic's going to fall down into this slot right here. So OpTic will fall into one of these slots right here. I don't know exactly which one. It's tough to tell. But if they do, they're going to get 1 match. They're going to get 2 matches. They're going to get 2 entire matches before they potentially match up with Empire or Atlanta again. So that's why when it comes down to elimination round 5, if this ends up being like OpTic Chicago versus Dallas here, this is where I took OpTic to win, because they're going to have 2 more entire matches to get under their belt, to get hot, to start vibing, to get back into it before they potentially match up against Dallas or OpTic again, or Dallas or Atlanta again. So that's how I feel at the moment. Let me bring this back. I feel like Dallas, as of right now, they're so good in search and destroy. They're super clutch in map 5s. We'll see what happens. I don't know if it'll work out that way in the end, but that's just kind of where my head's at. So let me get caught up on chat real quick. Let's see. Icon, outside of OpTic, Dallas, and Atlanta, who are you taking 4th? Oh, I see, when picking the groups. So you're saying like for next, when you're picking the group next. That's interesting. So you have Group A, you have Group B. Let's just say that this is going to be Atlanta wins and OpTic Chicago gets 2nd. So if that's the case, Atlanta's going to put Dallas here. And your question is, who does OpTic put next in Atlanta's bracket? That is interesting, because LA Thieves have not looked great. New York has been on fire. Minnesota looked really iffy today when it came to respawns. I think it's got to be, I don't know. I mean, Florida's starting to come on again. You could have LA Thieves. You could have New York Subliners. I still don't want to play Minnesota because of how good they are at search and destroy. Right there's 2 out of 5 game modes. So I like that question. It's very interesting. I like the way that you went with that. I think 4th pick will still be LA Thieves because of the potential, and I think they make a loser bracket run too. Yeah, Matrix, 1,000%. I could see that. that would probably be my pick first. That's the first team that kind of comes to mind. Kenny has been playing really well, top 5 player in the league. TJ didn't look as good today in Search and Destroy, but TJ has been a mastermind in Search and Destroy so far this year. So those two absolutely have the potential to beat you on any given day, 1,000%. Dallas has been shaky and Illy is trash. Temp has been decent some games. Yeah, don't sleep on LAG, absolutely. But LAG has to play Atlanta, and I think it'll be a little bit of a different story for them. So with that, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. Tomorrow, I'm going to do the same exact thing. I'm going to take one of these games. OpTic looked dominant. I wanted to break down everything that they did. We've been streaming for about 2 hours now. So tomorrow I'm going to do the same thing. So make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't hit it already. We're going to break everything down. We're going to talk through all the matchups. We're going to break down the super important plays and everything that happened. So if you're new around here, I heard you guys. You guys said that you wanted some more VOD reviews. So I figured, you know what? Let's do them live. Let's do them after majors. Let's do them after these really big matches. So I hope you enjoyed them. Make sure you hit the subscribe button if you're new around here. Turn on notifications so that you get a notification when we go live. And with that, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us today. We'll see you. Hope you guys enjoyed the recap. We'll do a whole nother one tomorrow and a whole nother one on Saturday and Sunday after the bigger matchups that occur. So thank you guys so much for hanging out. Hit that subscribe button, and we will see you tomorrow night, same time, same place. Adios. Have a good night, everybody.